let's talk about Cinderella's shoe. So I've created an Assassin Cinderella retelling, and it is so very interesting because it's all about a girl who goes to the palace with the intent of working with the master assassin to take out the prince and the king on the night of the prince's engagement party. And unfortunately, she decides she wants to save the princess and defy her master, and the prince chases after her, slices open her foot when he falls, and it's a very unique pattern so that he's going to be able to easily identify her the next time that he sees her. Now, as she's running away, the nanobot's mask that she's wearing flies off of her face and horrifies him and rushes down to create a new shoe. So she leaves her shoe behind. She's got a new nanobot shoe when she runs off. The next day they run into each other. He doesn't recognize her because her face now looks different without the nanobot mask, and he forces her to work with him. She's still hunting him, he's hunting her. It's a thing. But I want to talk about this shoe, because this is a really fun part of the conversation. And before I wrote the story, I actually designed the cover for this because I knew I wanted the cover to have that shoe on it. I wanted it to be very, very specific. And so I designed the cover first. If y'all didn't know, I'm a professional cover designer, so I design all of my own covers except for the ones with the trad publishers that have to use their own internal people. And so I have this really pretty shoe, and I wanted it to have a very specific design because he sliced her foot open, which means he's then going to be able to identify her by the cut on her foot. That's going to be a huge issue later on. And so I found a really pretty shoe and I made this. This is not an actual shoe. It doesn't exist in real life. I wish. And it was an image of a shoe that I then designed in this really cool like spiky pattern on both sides. It was covered in rhinestones, and so I played with the coloring. I knew I wanted to make her have like a dark green dress, a very dark green look to it. And so I changed the color of the shoe, and we have those beautiful rhinestones, of which I definitely changed things up and added some things. It's an open toe peep shoe, and then we have that really cool design on it. And so I created the shoe first, and I put it on what was going to look like kind of like a glass table or something that would be a little reflective. So you can see there's some reflection here, which is something that I created inside of this cover. And I wanted it to be kind of like shot toward the chandelier. So it's shot up just a little bit. We've got the chandelier behind it, all the sparklies, and then you can see that reflected down in the reflection as well. And so with this, I knew that I needed a unique pattern. So I needed something that hadn't really been seen before. And you get some very interesting shoes out in the world. I did not research if there are other shoes that look like this. I just created something that looked very unique to me, something that would leave an interesting pattern. So I specifically wanted it so that she could be cut here, not where that one spike is, in between the two spikes, and then on the opposite side of the spikes. So we would be having three very distinct lines where there would be a very specific gap, so if they put that shoe back on her, it would match perfectly. So at this point, I needed something that would leave that unique mark, and I knew I needed gaps in between it to match up with the shoe. So I did create the two spikes, and I tried some different designs. I went like different ways with this. This one was definitely my favorite because the spikes curve in opposite ways, and so they're going to wrap around her foot a little bit differently than if the spikes were both back or both forward or they connected in some way. And so depending on where he hit, he would leave a different pattern in different locations, and so you have a lot of variation in that mark across her foot so that you could match it up. So inside of this story, when he trips and falls and slices her foot open, it's around something that looks like this so that it had that unique pattern, and it was duplicated on both sides because if she's going to be running, it's definitely going to be probably the outside of her foot. He's not really going to fall between her feet with his hand, so he's going to slice the outside of her foot, so the pattern needed to be reflected definitely on the outside of each shoe. But where's the fun in asymmetry with that? Like, just to have big flashy things on the outside and not on the inside of the ankle? So I definitely put it on both sides. You can see the front and the back side of it, and it took me a while to create this because a lot went into this. The shoe itself took me longer to create than anything else on the cover. And so I created the shoe first before anything else, and let me give you a really good look at it because I actually have just the shoe on the inside page, so you can really see those spikes there. But the shoe was designed before anything else. I want to say when I was designing the cover, the chandelier actually came first. So I created that chandelier because I saw it when I was working on things and I really wanted to add that sparkle. So I created most of, but not all of that background first. Then I added the shoe in, and we can see how it's kind of reflected on the back cover as well. And I created the shoe before I wrote that scene so that I would know how it was going to look. And I knew I was going to have the chandelier in there. I knew the green color was going to be very important. Like, I had a pretty good idea where I was going with this story. So I was able to then implement that into the cover. But really, it was all based around that unique shoe. And I had to really figure out what I wanted to do with the shoe, because in Cinderella's story, that shoe is very important. She leaves it behind. It's how he identifies her, the whole thing. So I knew inside of my story, she needed to have epic looking shoes that were also going to be functional and allow her to run away, that would be something that could flip off of her foot. So we wanted to leave it behind. It couldn't be strapped to her ankle or anything, which would be smart for an assassin to make sure that, should anything happen, we're good to go and we don't lose the shoes. But I guess her fairy godbrother didn't think that through, or she didn't think that through, and it was able to flip off of her foot. With this, if you're looking at the spikes on it, these do not wrap up and around her foot as if they would hold it on. These are very much straight up, so that if her foot is here, they go up, they don't go over like this. So it's bent just a tiny bit, but her foot can very much still come out of it. And I left the open toe, and I made sure that we had all those sparkles and bling on there because people wanted to comment on it. It was something that she was very much noticed. She was there to be a distraction, so she was supposed to have the beautiful dress, and she was supposed to have the pretty hair, and she was supposed to have the blingy shoes, so that people would take notice of her and not Master as he was over there carrying out his plan. And unfortunately, Cindrill, made some poor decisions in alignment with her job and her duties, but maybe some not so bad decisions in terms of being a human. And so the shoe was very, very important. It was a very unique design that I created. I had never seen anything like it before or after, and I really would wear that in real life because it's really pretty. The heels are very high, but she's an assassin. She's skilled, and she's supposed to be gliding down the staircase and getting everyone's attention. So we're good to go with that. And I really like how this turned out with the sparkles and the glitter and the glamour and the green and the spikes and the slicing of her foot, the way it would leave the pattern and all the good things. So this definitely was a pivotal moment inside of the story. The prince definitely carries the shoe around and has every intention of testing out people's feet to see if it matches. They got a scar or a cut that matches what he did the night before when he accidentally sliced her open as he was falling, chasing her down for running away, for trying to assassinate him and his father. And so the shoe carries on throughout the course of the story. It's very, very important. We see it a number of times, and all the good, fabulous, wonderful things go with it. Her fairy godbrother wants it back, so if Cindrill gets her hands on it, might be good for her. He might have to fix a little bit of a cut on it, but hey, whatever, as long as we get the shoes back, right? Let me know down in the comments below, what do you love about this shoe? Do you like the color? Do you like the rhinestones? Do you like the heels? Do you like the pattern? What's your favorite part? Even if it's not your style of shoe, tell me of these things, which is your favorite part, and let me know I did a good job creating shoes. And if I should be a real life shoe designer, I need to hear from you down in the comments below. Fun fact, I actually have a friend who designs shoes professionally. I haven't talked to her in a bit. I might have to reach out to her, but it's very much something that would be so fun to do. So all I'm saying is, when I get more famous, if anybody wants me to design a shoe collection for them, I'm 100% in. Please reach out to me. I will see you in the next video as we continue to break down cool behind the scenes things about my stories and facts that you might not know. Let me know which story should I do next with the behind the scenes that you haven't heard of yet. I'll see you in the comments.